Sactown Sports 1140.
It's time for game night.
Getting you ready for Sacramento Kings basketball.
He's got the bucket.
Game night is presented by Power Business Technology, your locally owned and managed Toshiba copier dealer. Contact them at 844-POWER-BZ or visit them at powercopiers.com. Here's your host, Scott Marsh, and the high flyer, Henry Turner.
And a very pleasant good afternoon to you. Welcome into game night right here on Sactown Sports 1140. Scott Marsh with the high flyer, Henry Turner. Kings and Raptors tonight, game 5 of this long 6-game road trip. The Kings come in 1-3, losers last night in Philadelphia, 123-103, a game that was pretty much done at the half as Philly went for 80 first half points. We're up 25. Never really looked back. The Kings did, I guess, technically outscore the 76ers in the second half, but it didn't really make a difference. So the Kings now, if they want to go 500 on the road trip, they got to win tonight. They got to finish out with a win on Friday in Detroit. First of all, High Flyers, good to have you back here tonight.
Oh, man, what's going on, Scott?
It's good to see you, too. And, since you are coming back, now we're being streamed on YouTube. So everybody gets to see your pretty smiling face if they want to go online.
Right. So I guess the old saying of you have a face for radio is really kicking in now, huh?
They're going to find out. Now, that's going to become true for me in my case. But, of course, you have the outstanding look. So it'll be only addition for us.
No, they're going to have to give me a pass this week because I didn't nobody tell me anything. But I'm going to be a little cleaned up the next game. I'm going to be looking right.
All right. We got you. But anyways, you can join us today. We'll be here until 4 o'clock, getting you ready for Kings Live pregame. Tip tonight, 4:30 up north. The G-Man with the call. Tough back-to-back, no doubt about it, having to go up to Canada, go through customs, all that stuff, coming off the tough loss. And, the Kings, they just didn't have it last night against a very good Philadelphia team.
Well, Scott, if we look at the totality of this trip right now, I'm still not – I'm not upset about the game against Philly. They went up against Harden and Embiid.
Yep.
And both of those guys played, at all-star level. I'm not upset at that game. The game I'm a little, just a little perturbed by is the New York game.
That was an ugly game.
The New York game, I really felt like the Sacramento Kings, they're at now this is me. I feel they're at the same level or maybe even a little above what New York is.
Right.
I know going into Madison Square Garden, it isn't an easy task. But at the end of the day, I felt like if the Sacramento Kings went in and took care of their business, played the way that they had been playing, they would be able to go in there and win that basketball game. So understanding, got thumped by Philly, I'm not too upset about that. Philly is an upper echelon team. I don't care what anybody say. This basketball club is still trying to fight for a championship run. So when the Kings walk in there and get thumped, I'm not feeling too bad about that. I still want them to be competitive.
Sure.
But I understand what they're going up against. The New York game has a little bit more sting than the Philly game does to me.
I can't disagree with that at all. The New York game just wasn't a good game at all. And Randall went off for those 27 first half points, but then Randall gets ejected. Jalen Brunson gets hurt, and you think, okay, maybe the Kings got a chance here. But they even after that happened, they didn't make a push in that game.
Right. It still went south for the Sacramento Kings. Yeah. And, when New York loses those two guys of that magnitude, even without De'Aaron Fox, I thought that the Kings had enough to win that game. They just didn't come out and play Kings-type basketball.
No doubt. And speaking of De'Aaron, of course, he did play against Philadelphia last night. He is scheduled to play tonight. De'Aaron still didn't look like the De'Aaron we've been grown to see at least beginning of the year. He played 29 minutes, only had 13 points, 5 of 15 floor, just 1 of 7 from distance, just 1 assist in the game. And obviously that foot's still bothering him. I'm sure that the Kings staff, obviously they cleared him.
I was about to say,
so he's healthy.
No, wait. I was about to say that bothers me, Scott.
Yeah.
If his foot is still bothering him at this early juncture, why risk it?
Well, and again, we're not close enough to the situation. So my feeling on this is that there's no way that the Kings would risk De'Aaron Fox.
Of course.
Okay? So he's clearly healthy to play. And there's a difference, as being a player between feeling a little discomfort and actually being injured.
Yes,
so
De'Aaron
Fox isn't injured, I don't believe. But obviously he's still experiencing some discomfort because obviously it's showing in his game. The explosiveness isn't there that we've seen.
Now, is that just a situation of him being careful, or is the situation where he's feeling pain? Because, like you say, Scott, I've been there as a player,
Yes.
and it's two total different things when you don't feel like, okay, well, I don't want it to hurt, or I can't make these moves because I'm having pain.
And to your point, I think these are questions that need to be asked to De'Aaron Fox.
Right.
I haven't heard him speak on those, and if he has, I've missed it. But I'd be interested to know the answers, and I'd want to hear from De'Aaron personally on that, because who else knows how he's feeling other than De'Aaron does?
Right, because it's a fine line being, okay, yes, I can play. Yes. I can go out there, I can play. But can I be at my best? And then it's a whole different type of scenario when you're a player like De'Aaron Fox. I was kind of in that situation too, being a guy that really got up off the ground. When your game is predicated on explosiveness and you can't plant that foot, or, your knee is not taking the pressure or whatever it may be to where you can get to your highest potential, your game is at an ordinary level now.
Yeah, no, it's definitely at a different level. And, again, if this were March, April playoff run, I don't think we'd even be questioning it, but we're in early December. So I think if anything, you're always extra cautious this time of year.
You are extra cautious, Scott, but then again, too, like I said, coming from a player perspective, I understand where De'Aaron is.
He wants to play.
Yeah. And, and even when you're hurt, you want to be out there fighting with your teammates.
Yes.
And sometimes you feel like even a 50% De'Aaron Fox is better than not having a De'Aaron Fox at all.
And that's where the coaching staff and the training staff has to put on the reins, right?
And yes, and that's when it's calling saving yourself from yourself.
Yes, exactly.
Because you want to play as a player, you want to be out there, but if you can't give it your all, sit down, because we're going to need you to be 100% in February.
Yep. Well, he's not even listed on the injury report, so there's no question that he's available and probably will start again for Sacramento.
And Scott, and that's if that's what's happening.
True.
It might not be.
True. And again, when it gets to injuries, I don't even like to speculate, because again, the one thing I am 100% confident on is that the Kings would not mess around with any injury at De'Aaron Fox.
I don't think so either. I don't think the coaching staff would do it. I don't even think the medical staff would do it.
Not a chance.
Because they would definitely tell him, no.
You're not going to.
Right.
If they really thought it was a question of extending an injury, there is no chance that De'Aaron Fox would be out there. So we'll see how he plays tonight. Questionable is Kevin Huerter, though, ankle. So we'll see if he plays tonight. And that brings us kind of to the other theme right now. The Kings, we know defensively they struggle against teams that are bigger than them, particularly defending the glass. But the 3-point shooting has not been good either. If you look at the first 4 games of the road trip, they're 24th in the league in a 3-point percentage, 31.6. Over the last 10 games, they're 27th in the league at 32%. During that span, Herter's 24% from 3, Fox 26, Davian Mitchell 27, Barnes 30.8, Monk 31.7, and Trey Lyles 30.8. So they're all struggling from downtown right
now. So now, Scott, we go back to that situation, because when the Sacramento Kings were shooting the ball lights out, good basketball team.
Sure.
Okay, so now you go back to a situation to where, okay, how are you going to manifest wins when you're not shooting the basketball at a high clip as what you're used to? Now, we all know that 30-point plus is the barometer for the Sacramento Kings.
Yes.
What's going to happen when it's going to be nights to where you can't manifest to those type of numbers? How are you going to win a basketball game?
It's a great question, and it hasn't been answered. And, the Kings, when they are held to under 110 points, they're 1-8 now on the season. So that's definitely something that needs to be figured out. And, of course, I think what is being exposed a little bit, albeit against, nobody thought the Kings were better than Milwaukee, okay? Nobody thought the Kings were better than Philadelphia. Nothing like that. They're playing good teams. We have to acknowledge that.
True.
But we also have to acknowledge that when Sabonis is out there playing against these big men, he's foul prone. He got in foul trouble again last night. He had to go to the bench. It forces the issue. They bring up Neemias Queta from G League to play against Embiid. He picks up 3 fouls in 2 minutes. So there's still an issue with who are the bigs on this team outside of Sabonis. You're not playing Rashawn Holmes, Alex Len. He's not available again, not COVID illness, but maybe that's an area the Kings are going to have to address here.
Well, when I looked at the roster, I was always questioning that particular part of it. When, we looked at, okay, Coach Brown loves to play that small ball lineup. That's fine. I'm with that. But then all of a sudden, when you get into a situation to where you have to go up against teams that have big guys.
Yes.
Well, something's going to give, and when you talk about having size, having strength, having length out there, and your biggest guy is Sabonis, and all of a sudden they got a front line 6'10", 6'10", 7 foot.
Yep.
You're in trouble again when you talk about rebounding the basketball. You're in trouble when you're talking about defending the scoring area. You're just at a disadvantage. So, at some particular point, you're going to have to say, all right, do you bring in somebody that's going to be able to help you in those situations? Or are you just going to just struggle it out playing small ball, hoping that your offensive productivity will outweigh what you lack on the defensive side?
Exactly. You're going to eventually just try and outscore people. Is the shooting going to come back? These are all things that we'll find out from the Kings. And, Toronto, again, today, they don't have a Joel Embiid, obviously. They don't have a Giannis.
Right.
Pascal Siakam, your guy, is back, and we'll let you say it in the next segment. It's a quality team. It's certainly not at that level, but it's another very good defensive team.
This is another team, Scott, to where I honestly feel like the Sacramento Kings can't compete with this basketball team. I feel the same way I do about the Toronto Raptors as I did against the New York Knicks. They're a decent basketball team. They're not great. They're
500 team.
Yes, they're a decent basketball team. I feel like the Kings are a decent basketball team. But if the Kings go in and play the way that we know they're capable of, they can go into a hostile arena such as Toronto, because it's tough to play in Toronto.
No doubt.
Man, it's tough to play there. And they can come out with a win if they do the things that they need to do.
No doubt. And Toronto's been off since Sunday, so they'll have a couple of days rest. The Kings are obviously playing on a second night of a back-to-back, which makes it just a little bit more difficult. All right, game night is underway. If you want to join the program, if you've got some thoughts, you can certainly give us a call, 1-800-920-1140. We'd love to hear from you. You can text us on our text line at 916-339-1140. Game night is always being brought to you by our good friends at Power Business Technology. Experience how the Power family can help your business office equipment needs today. Contact them at 844-POWER-BZ or go to powercopiers.com. More of game night right here on Sactown Sports 1140. Welcome back into game night right here, Sactown Sports 1140. Scott Marsh, along with the high flyer Henry Turner, will be here until 4 o'clock. Henry will be here much longer than that. He'll be here for Kings Live pregame, the game, and the postgame as well. Kings and Raptors back-to-back for Sacramento. Obviously a tough situation. They'll finish out the road trip on Friday in Detroit. Cade Cunningham announcing, by the way, that,
seen that.
He's shutting it down, having season-ending shin surgery. So that's not good news for the Pistons, obviously.
Not at all. Not at all, because, he was the guy that had the keys to the car.
Absolutely. He missed a lot of time last year, too.
Right. He was the guy that they were like, okay, we're going to build around Cade. And rightfully so. I mean, great talent.
When he played, he was good last year.
Yeah, great talent, man. Young talent can go out there and get some things done. But that's one of those things, Scott, to where you much rather shut him down and get him right. Sure. Instead of like trying to let him play through the pain and through the agony. No
question. That's a legitimate injury, right? There's no doubt about that. And, the Pistons are last place in the Eastern Conference, 7-22. And let's face it, it doesn't hurt them in the Wembanyama sweepstakes either.
I think you kind of liking that little situation. I mean,
that's what everybody's talking about.
You was riding that with Utah. Now you're talking about it with San Antonio. Now Houston was in the play. Wembanyama.
We just have to keep it real. I mean, that is a real thing.
You know what? Let me ask you this. Is he going to be the new freak when he hits the league?
Everybody says he is going to be the biggest deal since LeBron.
But I'm saying, is he going to be the new freak? Because right now,
he's taller than Giannis at 7'2", right?
And he plays
better outside shooter.
He plays that style of game.
I know it. If he is the Greek freak 2.0, can you imagine what that's going to be like?
The French freak, because he's from France, isn't he?
He is.
Yeah, the French freak.
We'll see. But obviously, if you're the Pistons, I mean, whether you win 20 or 25 games and you win 10-15 with, without Cade Cunningham, it doesn't really matter so much. I will give the Pistons credit because, again, when they came here, they gave the Kings everything they could handle, almost won that game. And then they went on to win the back-to-backs in Denver and Utah. That's
quality
impressive.
Wins. Exactly. Shows you what the team is capable of if they can get everything together. So, that young basketball team, I mean, understanding they're struggling now, but a lot of teams are, and a lot of teams that have these young rosters, they're just trying to get these guys acclimated to the NBA system.
No doubt. Another team like that's the Orlando Magic, who were the Raptors' last opponent. Orlando beating the Raptors last time out 111-99. Paulo Banchero had 20 points. Franz Wagner, 23. They've got some good talent. Mo Bamba off the bench with 18. Bol is another rook who's playing well.
You know what I like about that crew, Scott? They're a bunch of young guns that the coach is throwing out there on the floor and saying, play.
Yep.
Just
roll
play.
It out.
Yeah,
let's make it happen.
Just throw it out there and say, y'all play. Get it done. And, Scott, what happens is that you get 4 or 5 of those young guys that start understanding the game, start feeling comfortable out there
with each other,
start having some success, and now you're playing with each other. You're building something there.
Yep, no doubt. The Magic certainly have a bright future. It's just not this year. And for the Raptors, not a great loss for them. The Raptors come into this game, they're 13-14. They're 10-3 at home, though, so just 3-11 away from their friendly confines in Toronto. Pascal Siakam, and you need to say that.
Siakam.
There you go. Thank you very much. He is your man. He's been your man. You've been loyal to him. You have liked him for a long time. He is their best player. There's no doubt about it. He's averaging 25 points a game, nearly 9 rebounds, over 7 assists a night. And I have a feeling if he were south of the border, he'd be getting more attention about how good he is. People know how good he is, but he'd be more of a star if he were in the United States.
And Scott, that's the crazy part of this that I don't understand. I really don't. He's in the NBA.
Yes.
Okay. It's not like he's some type of hidden jewel somewhere to where you don't see him. It's not like he's playing for Panathinaikos in Greece somewhere. This dude is in the NBA. He has a championship ring.
He does.
He has championship pedigree. He's played with all-stars.
Yes.
So why can't this young man get his flowers?
Well, let me ask you this. How many times do you see Toronto on national TV here?
That's the problem.
Exactly. And, Giannis had that problem to a certain extent, too. He does it because his talent just outweighs what he is. But to the extent that he's in Milwaukee versus a major city, it's still kind of that deal.
And I still say the same thing about Milwaukee. You remember when Milwaukee was undefeated?
Mm-hmm.
They were undefeated in the NBA, and all we could talk about was LA is struggling.
Brooklyn.
LA and
What
Brooklyn.
about the Nets?
They're struggling. It's crazy when these guys go out and they do great things on the floor, but just because you're not in a big market, you don't get the looks. That's crazy to me.
That's true. And you certainly don't see that in the NFL. There is no difference between small or big markets, but every game's on national TV too. Like the Green Bays of the world, they're just as big as the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, Green Bay is huge, Scott.
Well, Cowboys, I guess, are America's team. That's fine and
Yeah.
dandy, but there's no difference, what I'm trying to say, when you're following teams in the NFL versus the NBA.
I mean, I don't think it's as glaring.
No,
because
definitely not.
Okay, because you say Green Bay. Green Bay gets love because Green Bay has a hell of a football
Sure,
tradition.
but they're in a smaller city than Milwaukee, to the point.
But what I'm saying is that it's not like they're the Indiana Colts.
No, or the Indianapolis Colts.
You know, or the Detroit Lions.
True.
See,
or the Jacksonville Jaguars. Okay.
Hey, I like Jacksonville, man. Watch yourself.
All right, you made your point. I understand what you're saying.
I mean, I guess in all sports, there
is some sort of big city bias.
Yes.
Bottom line, that's just the way of the world. We understand that. All right, let's focus in on this Toronto team a little bit, see if we can figure it out. They are a 500 team. They're hovering right now in the Eastern Conference. As you look at the standings in the Eastern Conference, they currently are sitting in the 9th spot. They're half game back of the Pacers and the Hawks, who are both 500. The Knicks are over 500 now, 14 and 13. The Knicks are playing good basketball. They've won 4 straight, including the last time out against Sacramento. Where do you put Toronto in the whole picture? Now, they are without OG Anunoby tonight, so that should help Sacramento. He's their second leading scorer, another physical presence type guy. No Precious Achua as well for Toronto. But just overall, your take on the Raptors.
I put the Raptors in the same category, honestly, Scott, where I put the Sacramento Kings, where I put the New York Knicks. You know, they're not in the top 5, really, not even in the top 6. But when you talk about those teams that, you know, could be 7, 8, 9, or probably can make a run.
Play-in caliber, right?
Play-in caliber probably can make a run at that 6th or 5th spot. You know, if they start playing great basketball, but they're not one of those teams that's looking for a championship or bust. No,
they're not a championship caliber team. The backcourt, I've always liked Van Fleet. I think he's an outstanding guard.
Yeah, Fred's something special.
He is. And then Gary Trent Jr., you and I both like a lot.
Like him a lot. I was a Gary Trent Jr. fan when he was in Portland.
Yep.
I really thought that. I'm like, man, this dude is a star waiting to happen. He was just playing behind Dame and CJ.
Yeah, and when they made that trade, Portland, I thought it was a bad trade when they acquired Norman Powell, and Powell, of course, is now with the Clippers. But I've always liked Gary Trent Jr.'s game. He's coming off a 24-point night against Orlando. So obviously some firepower in the backcourt. We'll see what comes today, but Toronto, you know, they pride themselves on the defensive end, and that'll be the challenge for the Kings today. Can they get the offense going in Toronto today?
That's the number one thing for the Sacramento Kings. And when the Kings were having their run, Scott, we really wasn't talking about the offensive side of the ball. It was like, okay, let's see what other things we can fix for this basketball team to be able to be productive on the floor. So now we're in a situation now to where they're not quite shooting it at the exact same clip. They're not quite defending at where they want to be. They're not utilizing the free throw line as well as they once were early on. And now you have to start thinking about, okay, you guys need deflections. You guys need turnovers. Now you got to pick up the pace. Okay, you're not rebounding the ball particularly well because Mike Brown goes to the small ball lineup, and now you're getting out firepowered on the boards. It's some things that's going to have to be changed for this basketball team to win if they don't shoot the ball well. And it's crazy that it's all predicated on how well they score the ball. When they shoot the ball well, Scott, all those other things don't rear the ugly head.
Yep. That's so true. And I think that's truly, you know, we talk about measures of a good team, obviously a winning record at home, defending home court, very important, right?
And Kings start doing that.
Yes. If you can be 500 on the road, you're a good basketball team once you start doing that.
Kings aren't 500, but they're competitive on the road.
Yep. Maybe the biggest standard is when you're not playing well offensively, it doesn't affect you on the defensive end.
Yes.
You only quality teams, because most teams are not mentally tough enough. They're not playing well offensively to do that.
I was about to say that's a making of a good basketball team, a very good team. When your team isn't clicking on the offensive side and they still can dig deep and be able to be dominant on the defensive side, dominate the boards, dominate the line game, and still win basketball games, those are basketball clubs that are elite and trying to make it to a championship run.
No doubt about that. All right, when we come back, we're going to take a look around the league. We'll get you caught up on the latest news. Also, the other games going on. We'll review last night's games as well. Obviously, a thriller in LA. What a game between the Lakers and the Celtics. Jason Tatum, again, getting it done for the C's. We'll discuss all of that when we come back. It is game night right here on Sactown Sports 1140. Welcome back into game night right here, Sactown Sports 1140. Scott Marshall on with the high flyer, Henry Turner, taking you until 4 o'clock today. Kings Live pregame coming up at 4. Tip tonight, 4:30, Kings and Raptors. The G-Man on the call. Game night is always being brought to you by the Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Sacramento. Never more important than this time of year to help kids in need. If you think you would be a great volunteer to help be a mentor to children in our area, please give the big brothers and big sisters of Sacramento a call, 916-646-9300, or visit bbbs-sac.org to learn more. All right, let's go around the league. News from last night. Draymond Green mixing it up with a fan again in Milwaukee. According to the Warrior forward, the fan said some, quote, threatening things to my life. He responded to the fan multiple times, and then, according to Draymond, gained his composure, talked to a ref, and after the ref was notified, the fan was ejected from the arena.
Wow.
Don't know what was said, but obviously if it's truly life-threatening stuff, there is no fan who should be allowed in the building that's going to say that type of stuff.
True. Exactly true. And, no one goes to work. I mean, I understand it's basketball. I understand it's a game. But you have to understand, no one goes to work expecting to hear someone shouting life-threatening things.
Absolutely not.
I'm down for the fan. I always say there's nothing bigger than the game of basketball. Then I always correct myself, Scott, and I always say the fans are bigger than the game, because it isn't for the fans, there is no game.
Absolutely.
But the fans need to understand, and this is one of the things that we were talking about when, ex-players were coming back to Sacramento and getting booed. At a certain point, a fan should be held at a certain caliber, and have some respectability for the player and what the player is trying to give them out there on the floor. Every fan wants the players to come out and give 150% on the floor. Well, you should receive that and respect them as much for them to go out and do their job.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Now, there are different levels too, of course. I mean, it's one thing for a fan to boo another player. No, I mean, you're not going to eject a fan for booing, obviously.
No, that's part of it. That's part of it. I mean, I understand that. That's part of it. Our fans are definitely, quite extraordinary, and they have been since the day I walked through the door in '89.
Sure.
But I'm talking about fans that are saying derogatory things to people and talking about their families and, all the swear and the cuss words and all of those things.
There's a limit.
Yeah, no one comes to work,
absolutely not
wanting to get that on their back. Nobody.
No doubt about that. Of course, in Draymond's case, he was involved in an incident with a fan just over a week ago. He was fined $25,000 for a verbal altercation in Dallas. So you always have to kind of wonder what's going on. But in the big picture, if somebody's threatening somebody's life, that is inappropriate, unacceptable. Get out of the arena.
And that's another problem that I have with the league also. Having a verbal altercation with the fan, like you said, you never know what was said.
Of course, yes.
But at the end of the day, that's $25,000 coming out of Draymond Green's pocket.
Yep.
And overall scheme is nothing to him for what he makes. He makes $100 million a contract. But still, all in all, the fan don't get fined anything, has nothing to lose, and probably might be the most verbal when you're having the altercation. So it should be some lines and some level of, the players shouldn't get hit that hard for certain type of situations.
And that's the challenge with this, right? Because it's all about gray areas, right? We kind of all have a feeling of what we think is appropriate and not appropriate. But when you start trying to put that down in rules and regulations, it's a lot tougher to do. Right?
I understand that. And I understand where the league is going. The league definitely had to put some stiffer fines in. I call it, the Ron Artest factor. I think that changed the league big time. Forever. But, at the end of the day too, I think it should be some stiffer situations for the fans.
Yeah. People shouldn't have to be subjected to a bunch of garbage.
Because,
players.
And especially in today's world to where everybody is filming, everybody is blogging, everybody is YouTubing, to get kicked out of an LA Laker game because you were heckling LeBron James is almost like a badge of honor to anybody that's just a regular fan.
Sure, it's an immediate a million likes and social exposure, right?
But that's what I'm saying. So, but a player will get fined $25,000, $30,000, $50,000 because of that altercation.
Yeah, there's some hypocrisy there for sure. And I don't know if I have the total answer to it or not.
Nobody does.
Yeah, there is no perfect answer to this one. All right, let's move along here. Let's look at some of the games from last night because it was a light night on the NBA scoreboard, but there were certainly some great games to look over last night, and most notably that Laker Boston game was a thriller. The C's win it in overtime, 122-118. Tatum goes for 44, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, had the dagger in overtime. And again, as he's building his MVP credentials, he certainly added a couple points to that last night.
Scooter, put some respect on that man's name.
Yes.
I mean, the numbers that he is putting up this year, Scott, it's just so Herculean, man, that he is definitely one of the forefront runners for MVP right now.
Yes.
For what he's doing, how he's playing, and how well his team is winning. He has all three things for him to be right there in that conversation of MVP.
No doubt. I think he's the lead candidate. Maybe Giannis. I mean, you can make a case for Luka. I mean, there's obviously so many great players, but he is right there amongst all of them. And the Celtics, you look at how good they are. They're 22-7 overall. They're 11-5 away from home. 10-2 at home and 11-5 away from home.
Okay, our barometer.
11-2. Yep.
Our barometer of a good basketball team.
Yep.
You're what at home?
They're 11-2 at home.
Dominant.
Yep.
Well, what are you on the road?
11-5.
Dominant on your home floor and on the road. And then when your shots aren't falling, where are they on the defensive rating side? I'll bet you they're in the top 10.
Yeah, and I'd have to look that up, but I'm sure they are.
But I
as well.
bet you they're in the top 10 on the defensive side. And they utilize other facets of the game, steals, rebounds, the free throw line game. They are a championship-bound team. So when the Kings walk in and play Boston, however they do it, however the game ends up, if they don't win that game, I'm not upset because this club has proven they got a track record of being an elite basketball team.
Yes, they do. All right, the other marquee games from last night, the Bucks beating the Warriors, 128-111. We talked about Draymond Green already in that one. The Suns, and you know what? They're definitely trending downward right now. They've lost their 5th straight. They lose.
You got questions about them, huh?
I do. Anytime you can get blown out by over 40 points to a Boston team, like I don't care if it's preseason, regular season, postseason. I mean, that's just kind of unacceptable for a marquee game. And then you go back to last year, Game 7 against Dallas, where they absolutely just laid an egg at home.
Okay, but do you feel the same way about Golden State? Because Golden State's getting mollywopped outside of
well, case in point, the Warriors
in Center also.
But this game was in Phoenix against the Celtics. It was a home game, first point. Now, they lose at Houston. Okay, fine. I'm just more of the point you're losing to a Houston team who's not very good, and you've lost 5 straight. The Suns are 16-12. They're 4-9 away from home. Now, the Warriors record, they're 2-12 away from home. To your point.
Exactly.
To your point.
So do you feel the exact same way about Phoenix as you do Golden State Warriors?
No, I don't, because I feel like right now, at least, I feel like if the Warriors were in a championship situation, they'd come through. I don't feel that way about the Phoenix Suns.
Okay. So you're feeling warm and fuzzy about Golden State, but Phoenix just don't do it for you.
Who would you rather have in a championship situation right now to go against the Celtics? Would you rather have the Warriors or would you rather have the Suns?
Now that's a viewpoint, Scooter. I'm going to always go with the champ.
Okay.
The Golden State Warriors are still the champs.
Okay. How do you feel? How do you feel about the Suns right now?
I think they're underachieving. I think, and granted, they've had a lot of guys out.
Sure, and Chris Paul's been out, and he hasn't been great since returning and all that stuff. Booker's been brilliant.
They've had a lot of guys out. I feel the same way I do about Golden State. Golden State has struggled, but I feel like when it comes down to it, when the lights click on, I think these teams have enough firepower and star-studded players to where when it's on the line, because people really don't understand games are played different from regular season than when playoff time hits.
For sure.
It's just the way it is. Players are locked in when the playoff season hits. So I think for Phoenix, the same way I do against Golden State, when the big light come on, I think those guys show up.
Okay, we'll see. And they've been to an NBA Finals. I understand that, but it was just alarming again the way they flamed out against Dallas last year, and the Celtics game earlier.
I'm with you on that. I thought Luka just walked in and just the Don just smacked him with the gangster ring all around the arena.
Yes, he did. All right, we'll let the Suns off the hook for the moment at least.
I will. You won't.
And then the Jazz beating the Pels last night, 121-100. So that's a look at last night's games. As for games going on in the association today, you've got the Knicks and the Bulls. Pistons and Hornets. The Warriors are in Indiana to take on the Pacers. Hawks and Magic. Heat, Thunder, Trailblazers, Spurs, Cavs, and Mavs. That rhymes and should be a pretty good game as well.
Yeah.
With Donovan and Luka. You got the Wizards and the Nuggets, and the T-Wolves are in LA to take on the Clippers. So those are the games today. But of course, the game we're going to focus on when we come back, it'll be Kings and Raptors. We'll get you as updated who's on the floor report as we can. We'll break down the matchups, that and a lot more. It's game night right here on Sactown Sports 1140. Wrapping things up here on game night. Scott Marshall on with the high flyer Henry Turner. It's time now to give you the Who's on the Floor report. It's brought to you by Gold River Floors. For Sacramento, as we talked about earlier, Kevin Huerter listed as questionable for tonight's game. We'll have more on that in Kings Live pregame. Dave Deuce Mason's here, and the G-Men, they'll update you on that. We do know that Chris Biederman, Sacramento Bee, tweeting out, despite Kevin Huerter being a game-time decision, there's internal optimism that he will play tonight against the Raptors. So that is good news for Sacramento. De'Aaron Fox, who we know is still with that foot soreness, is not on the injured report at all. He played last night, 29 minutes. And as far as we know, he's a go tonight. And he's starting for Sacramento. So basically another fully healthy lineup tonight for the Kings. That's great. As for the Raptors, they do have some key people out. OG Anunoby, their second leading scorer, will not play in this game. Precious Achiuwa is out with a right ankle sprain as well. So the Kings will have more depth tonight in Toronto than the Raptors. We'll see if they can take advantage of that.
No doubt. I mean, see if they can go in there and get their offense back clicking. You know, I think, Scott, that's the biggest thing that the Kings are really got to fix out there is get that shot, get those balls to go in the rim, and then we can start talking about the other things that they need to take care of and win a basketball game. Because number one, first and foremost, the Kings, it's imperative that the Kings shoot the ball well in order for them to win.
No doubt. 10 for 42 from beyond the arc like they shot last night. It's not going to work.
It's not going to get it.
No. All right. The Who's on the Floor report again brought to you by Gold River Floors. Let the pros at Gold River Floors assist you with all your flooring needs. 3 locations to serve you: Sacramento Flooring off Power Inn Road in Sacramento, Gold River Carpet One off Highway 50 in Rancho Cordova, and Gold River Flooring America off East Bidwell in Folsom. All right. Your favorite player, Pascal Siakam. Who guards him tonight?
Ooh.
Is it Sabonis? And again, the foul issue is just such a tough one if you try to do that.
No way. Sabonis won't be on him. I think Harrison Barnes will get a look. I think the Rook is going to get a look on him. OG will get a look.
Okay. So it'll be by committee.
It's going to be by committee, but I think those 3, the long, lean guys, will definitely get a look at Pascal Siakam because he's the type of guy to where he has an inside-outside game, Scott, but I think he likes to use the situation to where when he gets a mismatch, you know, he really plays well with the mismatch because when he gets a smaller guy, he'll definitely go down into the post to try to utilize that. And then when he gets a bigger, longer guy, he takes him out on the perimeter and tries to get around him. So, you know, I think those 3 guys for the Kings will match up with him pretty well.
Yeah, it might be a night for more minutes for Okpala.
Yeah.
Potentially. So we'll see about that. Obviously, that's kind of the biggest threat that Toronto has. But they have more than that. The backcourt, again, we talked about Van Vliet and Trent Jr. They can get it cooking.
Yeah, that's going to be the thing about we know how Freddie goes. I mean, Freddie can light it up with the best of them. We have a couple of guys on our team that's the exact same way. So the Kings should know. Definitely have a look at him, keep a hand on him, and stay close because if you let him get open and let him get going, he can make a night very hard for you.
Yeah, no doubt. And as we talked about, Toronto's a very good team at home. They're 10-3. And obviously it's, you know, the Kings on a back-to-back makes it tough. You go through Canada, you've got customs, it's a later night, all that type of stuff.
But Scott, nobody cares,
bro.
No, nobody cares.
Of course.
I know we always throw it out there, but I hate it. I hate it because
but they are just facts.
I hate it because nobody. Yeah, it's facts. You're losing on the road. I don't care about the back-to-back. I don't care about the travel. Every team has to do the same thing.
Sure, but a lot of teams respond to it by not playing their guys on the second night of back-to-back.
Well, if you can afford to do that, you do that. But for the Kings situation, I really hate rolling that out there for them because I don't think that they take that as a situation to where, oh, well, this is why we lost. No, not at all. You should be able to compete. You should be able to win, especially when you're playing a team that's on your caliber. Now, when you have a back-to-back like the one they had in Atlanta, that's just a little too much. When you get to the hotel at 3, you don't go to sleep until 5 and have to play the next day. That's special, but something like this with Toronto, the Kings should be able to go in there and compete at a very high level.
Okay, well, let's hope they do. I'm down with that, and I don't know how tough it is to do all that stuff from Philly to Toronto and everything that's going on there.
Well, you do know they're not flying commercial, right?
That's true, but they're still going through customs, even if they're on that private plane. You never played in Canada?
No.
Yeah.
No, but I will tell you, they're not flying coach.
No, we know that. We understand that. But it's still, whether you're flying charter or coach, it's still the same distance from Philadelphia to Toronto. You're still going through customs. Maybe you're not standing in the same line per se, and it's late at night, so maybe it's quicker, all that type of stuff.
You must not be understanding what I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying.
It's a hell of a difference.
You're saying I'm coming up with excuses for them. I'm coddling these guys. I get it.
It's a hell of a difference when you're flying a private plane, charter plane, going somewhere than flying coach.
We also have to just state facts. I mean, the Kings have won one game on back-to-backs this year. Most teams, if you looked at the record on second night of back-to-backs, it's far under 500.
Now, I know it's tough for them, but understanding that this is a basketball team that's trying to do something big, and I understand. Okay, a back-to-back against a team that you're not even, in their same caliber. All right, I understand that. Nobody's asking you to be Herculean like that, but a back-to-back against a team they're in your caliber, and you're trying to do something special. The Kings needs to dig deep and try to get this basketball game. It's there for them.
And I agree with you too. I'm old school. I don't like excuses, anything like that. If you're out there, you're playing 100%, you're giving it everything you got. We don't want to hear anything else.
What I'm saying is, guys, and this is why I don't like the excuse, because I honestly feel like the Kings can get this game.
Yeah. Okay.
They can go into Toronto and win.
I do agree with you on that. I think obviously this is a winnable game as well. I am concerned though, because De'Aaron, the way he's playing right now and with what's going on, obviously he's not 100% De'Aaron Fox.
I understand that. Now, we can throw that excuse out there.
Okay.
But don't give me that one. Yeah, but don't give me the excuse about the travel and going through customs. I don't want to hear that.
I think you're just maybe slightly, I won't say jealous. I'm just your charter situation as a player probably wasn't as nice as it is today.
No, we definitely didn't fly that nice plane, but we did charter. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
We did have our own plane.
Okay.
It was a little different. No, my thing is I never made the excuse for the travel.
No,
at all.
You are not an excuse, man. I know you
never make the excuse for the travel.
True.
Because everybody has to do that. If other teams didn't have to travel, then you can cry about it. But like I said, my thing is, I'm not saying anything about the travel or any of the outside circumstances, because I feel the Kings could win this game.
All right, let's hope they do. That's going to do it for game night. Henry, it's always great to work with you and have a great call tonight.
Deuces, my brother.
Deuce will be here, and from what I've heard, the reviews are good. Fans are loving you on YouTube today. High Flyer.
Okay, I'm glad I had a positive debut.
There you go. All right, it's Kings Live pregame coming up next. Kings basketball versus the Raptors. You'll get it all afternoon and evening long right here on Sactown Sports 1140.